Our next chef look cooks, which is this one. We are here today to make some Thai chicken and peanut waffles, and we're gonna make a very nice sauce. It's kind of like a nam prick-esque sauce. It's very sweet, a little bit of chilies and ginger and garlic. The longer it waits, the better it gets, and you can put it on basically everything. It's a very like liquidy sauce. It's usually used for like egg rolls or spring rolls, but we're gonna dip waffles in it right now, and the waffles are gonna have a very nice spongy texture. It's gonna suck it right up. It's gonna be really, really good. If you guys have read the recipe already, you'll notice this is a gluten-free waffle, which is kind of fun. I believe it's technically paleo. I don't know if peanut butter counts. I'm pretty sure it does, but I actually was doing some research into this recipe to try and make sure it was going to work right the first time, which it did, which is always nice when I'm doing something I've never done before. And I found this thing called a chaffle, which is a paleo dish. It's literally just cheese and eggs that you put in a waffle maker. And I was kind of inspired by that. I'm like, I'm going to make this gluten-free if I can. I'm going to take the flour out and see what we can do. My first recipe I used about a cup of flour in there just to bind it. And it was good, but it's better without the flour, like way better. The egg has more chance to sort of rise and become spongy with the baking powder. And you get a really nice texture that works extremely well with dipping into the sauce. So it was kind of like revolutionary to find this chaffle. And now we're kind of bringing it together in a much more fun way with all this protein. And this waffle is really basic. It's really just peanut butter, eggs, and chicken. We're going to put some extra stuff in there just to sort of season it up, but you can do this with basically anything. I was actually having a process about doing some like Swiss and tuna fish in here instead, and doing like a tuna melt waffle, just like, for fun. And then maybe dip that in like some tartar sauce or something like that. But just, you can, as always, a large part of this program is sort of teaching you the basics, so that you can go home and experiment and do whatever it is that you want to do. So don't ever hesitate. To change something on the recipe, take something out you don't like. You're gonna need the eggs in this, but I think if you cut it down, if you try this and you're like, that's too eggy for me, cut it down. It'll work with less eggs. You just need something in there to bind it. Take out some of the chicken, replace it with a different meat. You could do this with pretty much anything that's kind of stringy. Other protein. Poultry is obviously a good call, but you could do pork for sure. Beef, depending on what kind of cut it is. Like, I wouldn't do ground beef necessarily. It probably might fall apart, but you generally want like a little bit of sort of fiber for things to start to stick together. And so anyways, that's kind of my intro. We're going to go right ahead and jump into this. I've got a big bowl here because I'm going to double this recipe. I've got some cans of chicken over there. These cans are pretty great. We got them from the food pantry, but you can find them almost anywhere. These have a decently, considering it's a canned product, it doesn't have a lot of salt, which is nice. I'm a big fan of that. And this is about 1 cup worth of chicken, so it's perfect for this recipe. The recipe would go for 2 of these. You can take home a can yourself if you so desire, and then just do like a half batch. But we're going to double it because I want to feed all of you guys, and my staff has been dying for this since I came back, so I want to make sure there's enough for them this time. So these are like really easy open packs. And you can kind of see it's a little bit of fat in there. It's a pretty decent chicken. It's canned chicken, but as far as canned meat goes, there's definitely, it's not a bad thing. You're gonna end up with protein that's usually a lot more waterlogged, and that's, as far as like flavor, it's not necessarily ideal. But with this, we're not really that concerned about the chicken. The chicken is there as a protein. It's gonna taste. It's not really gonna taste like chicken. The chicken is gonna be a background ingredient. We're gonna taste cilantro, we're going to taste peanut butter, and we're going to taste the really nice sauce that we're putting in here. So the chicken, like the quality of the chicken is not that important for this dish. I'm not like serving, like a chicken cordon bleu or something where I'd want, a nice piece of organic chicken or something that had been treated well. This is really just in there as a protein and a binder. It's not the end of the world if the chicken's not the highest quality in the world. And this is pretty good stuff. It's not, it's not perfect by any means, but that's one of the reasons why I wanted to use the can. Also, just for convenience, waffles, for me at least, are a convenience food. I don't think everybody necessarily views them that way, but the batter is really, really vigorous. You can make it way ahead of time and keep it in your fridge. And when you need to in the morning, you can just pop it right in your waffle press. One thing I've been doing lately with waffles is I've been doing kind of like overnight waffles, kind of like overnight oats, but instead of eating them raw, you put it in a waffle maker. And you put eggs in there, of course. So you take like oats and some vegetables. I've been doing shredded beets and oats, and you just sort of mix them together the night before with some baking powder. Put them in the fridge, and then you're good to go. was a little weird can and did not smell entirely great. So we're going to skip that one. Anytime you have a dented can, it's usually okay, but if you ever smell anything weird when you crack it, it's just a good idea to get rid of it. There's no need getting sick over food if you can help it. But all these fresh cans should be, or all these undented cans should be fine. And I'm sure that one was fine too, but I've learned long ago to just go with my gut. If you smell something weird. Perfect. So we just took all the water out of that just to get, we don't want too much liquid in this recipe. If you look at the recipe, you'll actually see that there is, it calls for Teddy's peanut butter specifically. I don't usually call out particular brands, but I like the Teddy's because it's sort of that natural peanut butter that has the oil on the top that's separated out. And so the reason we want that is because we don't want that peanut oil in this dish. We want just the peanut sort of solids. So by using Teddy, you can kind of pour that oil off, get it that sort of more dry peanut base, and then and it's just going to make for a thicker product. It's not going to be as liquidy. It's going to mix up a little bit better and set up a little bit better. Today, unfortunately, we actually don't have that brand. They didn't have any at the grocery store, unfortunately. I think it's because I didn't go to Kronig's. I know Kronig's usually carries it. So we are going to use just normal Teddy Smooth. This one is fully emulsified, which is kind of nice. So we should have sort of similar situation where it's nice and thick. You just want peanut butter that's thick. You don't want like a very easily spreadable peanut butter. You know, I know there's some brands that are kind of known for being really, really easy to spread. You want something that's not easy to spread. You want it to be thick. You want it to be full of sort of fiber and everything that sort of makes it tough. Okay, so beautiful. We got our 2 cups of chicken. Again, we're doubling to 4 cups here. So that's what's in there. And that's going to be a full 12 eggs. So it's a lot of eggs in this dish because that's basically everything that's binding this together. And we've got protein from the chicken, and that's going to be very helpful. But in the end of the day, it's really going to be almost more like an omelet that we're making. It's not going to look or taste like an omelet, I promise. But it really is going to be like eggs are going to be what we're eating. We just won't really be able to tell because of all the nice flavors and textures that are going to be going on in there. And that's another reason why I like chunky peanut butter. Again, I'm just dealing with what we've got right now. But chunky peanut butter is really nice because it gets a little bit of crunch, and it really helps to kind of like pop your brain into the savory space when you're eating that food and you have that little bit of crunch. It's sort of, you know, you might be like, well, it's a waffle, it's going to be so sweet. And they are a little sweet, but we're not putting any sugar in here. We're just, we're actually kind of trying to counteract that. And so, again, you won't necessarily get that full experience with the chunk, but when you try it at home, definitely try chunky peanut butter. It's an entirely different experience. Okay, let's start cracking some eggs. So there's a lot of different ways to crack eggs. I know when I was younger, I always used to use the edge of the bowl. And that's decent. The big problem with that is you usually get egg along the outside of the bowl and it starts to drip down and gets on your counter. So I stopped doing that pretty recently. I'm just doing it to show you guys at this point. And I started doing the counter, and I really like that. Sometimes you still get egg on the counter. But these are like sticky. The whites are like sticking in there. But usually you don't. And what is more important, you get like a more like sort of Death Star looking crack, just so you guys can see that. That is a lot easier to get your finger in when you're cracking one-handed. So for cracking one-handed, I really enjoy that. It just makes it easier. So you sort of make the little Death Star crack, take your middle finger, and that's where you put it in, and then it just pulls apart really easy. So if you're trying to get a one-handed crack down, try a flat counter. It tends to work a lot easier. You get so good at it, you can even do it like they do in the at the stores. Do them. I'm literally thinking of Dock Street right now, and doubling eggs for my breakfast. So a lot of ways to crack an egg. A lot of people like to drop it too. I didn't do that. I would not do the drop method with a raw egg. It works really, really good for hard-boiled eggs though, because you get the sort of shatter, but you also have a little bit of force that kind of like knocks it out of its little holster. All the eggs have like a very sort of thin membrane inside. If you ever peeled a hard-boiled egg, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you sort of drop it like that, it tends to like get them off of that outside layer. So when you do go to peel, the whole thing comes off a lot easier. Cool. So we've got our eggs in there. We're gonna jump right in with our peanut butter, and I'm not gonna even bother mixing this until everything's in there. So I think this is 2 cups. I might be able to just go straight in there. Let's see. So 2 tablespoons. 4 tablespoons is a 1/4 cup. There's 16 servings in here of 2 tablespoons each. So to get to 4 tablespoons, we'll have that. That's 8. This is going to be a math lesson today too. So that's eight. This is the way new math is done. You just kind of like skip ahead past all the actual hard stuff. So that's 8 servings of a quarter cup. So that's times a quarter is 2. So that's perfect. So I can put this entire thing in there because it would normally be 1 cup of peanut butter, and we are doing a double batch. Oh, here it is. So we're just going to put this entire thing of peanut butter in there. And now this peanut butter does have salt in it. When I was doing my test batch at home, I did do an unsalted peanut butter, and I would suggest if you do this at home to use an unsalted peanut butter as well. It's not going to be like overwhelming. It's not going to be super salty or anything. But because the chicken has a decent amount of salt in it, you really don't need to season this dish. The dressing we're going to make is going to be very not super salty, but is going to have some nice salt from the fish sauce. And then again, the chicken is already plenty salted, so this dish doesn't really need any more salt. But it's not going to hurt having this little bit in there. It's just, for me particularly, I'm always paying attention to that. So feel free to use an unsalted peanut butter. In fact, I think it ends up better, in my opinion. I just heard that. The dipping sauce is probably one of my favorite parts of this entire dish. And we'll get to that in a moment too once I get this all mixed up. But one of the reasons why I really like the dipping sauce is we switched out the sugar. Classically, that sauce is just sugar. It's sugar and the fish sauce and the chilies and such. And we basically, what I'm doing today is I'm just switching that with maple syrup, because when I hear waffles, I think maple syrup. And so I figured we should probably just stick with that. Okay, so I got eggs, I got peanut butter, I've got chicken, I need some maple syrup. I'm just going to put a little bit in there just as sort of a bit of a flavoring agent, just to kind of bring the flavor back. That way when you're dipping the maple syrup later, I'm going to need that for baking powder. Let's do that first. So again, it's going to be, it's normally would be 2 teaspoons of baking powder, but we're doubling, so we're going to do 4. I always like baking powder because it's got the little like lip. It just makes things so easy for measuring. And now we can go in here with maple syrup. So it's a tablespoon, or is it 2 tablespoons? 2 tablespoons. So this is a teaspoon, so I'm going to do 3 of those as a tablespoon. And so we're just going to do that 6 times. And the maple syrup also has just a little bit of liquid in there, which can be, it's just a little bit to get it sort of flowing, even with all the eggs in there and the peanut butter. At least with the chunky, it wanted like a little bit more moisture, and so. I did. So I did. Oh yeah, you're right. No, you're right. I totally didn't. I just want to make sure I have enough, because this isn't. I'm going to skip it for now because I want to have enough for the sauce. I don't think I bought a big enough one. Yeah. There's not going to be enough. So we're going to leave that for the sauce. But thank you. It won't be too. Like I said, it's kind of more like it's like a throwback ingredient. It's one of those things that like your body's going to eat and be like, where did I get that from? And it's going to sort of bring the flavors together. But it's not super essential. But thank you for that. I do often miss ingredients. So. These green onions did not survive the fridge very well, which is a little bit sad, but that's okay. We're just going to put a little extra cilantro in there. Before I put cilantro in, does anybody have the horrible misfortune of not liking cilantro or having it taste like soap?
Yes, it tastes like metal to me. I'm not allergic to it, but
okay.
It tastes like metal to me.
Okay, so what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to mix this up and I'll take a little bit out to this and put it on the side, because I know what that's like, and I don't want anybody to have to experience that. So I'll put the cilantro in last, and I'll just make sure there's a little bit of batter on the side for those of you who cannot eat the cilantro. It's one of those weird genetic things that like.
Yeah, it's just strange, but it's not an allergy. It's a very unpleasant taste.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard a lot of people say it tastes like soap.
Soap and metal.
Yeah, metal. Yeah, exactly. So that's an unfortunate thing. I absolutely love cilantro. It's one of my favorites. I'm so happy I don't have that as a problem, but we're just going to slice a little bit of these whites off and get just to the greens. So the whites we are going to use later, so I'm just going to cut them here, keep them on my cutting board, and we're going to just try and cut those as thin as possible. Those are going to go in the sauce and be just a little bit of texture for the sauce, and maybe mainly a flavoring agent. Ginger, garlic, scallion is one of the most classic sort of flavoring pairs. It's up there with sort of the mirepoix or the Holy Trinity. As far as like classic flavors, mirepoix being celery, onions, carrots, Holy Trinity being peppers, onions, and celery. It's just one of those things that that if you are eating food generally from sort of Asian country, you're probably going to run into one, if not all of them together in your dish as sort of a basis for flavor. It's a great way to start a stir fry. It's a great way to sort of garnish something at the end. You know, a little candy ginger on top of something is always good. If you ever taste something, you're like, man, why does that taste so familiar? It's probably ginger, garlic, and scallions doing the work. So we're going to put a little scallions in here. Mainly the greens of the scallions are just going to be for sort of color. So when we make these waffles, you're going to know right off the bat, these are savory waffles. They're going to be green. And again, like I said, the whites are going to go in our sauce. And so this is going to be my sauce bowl, so I'm just going to toss them in there right now. And they're going to help sort of give a little bit of that oniony flavor, but mainly just be a nice little crunch. Okay, so that's everything but the cilantro. So I'm just going to mix this up right now and get it separated. See what you can see what it starts to look like. It doesn't look a lot like waffle batter, I'll tell you that. But it's going to look like waffles when it comes out of that machine, I guarantee it.
Did you do this with pancakes? Because I don't have a waffle iron.
Yes, 100%. So once this is done and mixed up, you can just take your, we're going to use a half cup measure. Well, I guess I only have a quarter cup measure, so I'm going to use two of those. But generally, the sort of magic cup measure for waffles is the half cup measure. I usually use it to like measure my flour and my milk and everything when I'm making normal waffles because it just happens to be the perfect size for most waffle irons. A half cup of batter is what will make you one waffle. And so what you can do is you can take that half cup and just pour it in a pan and cook it like a pancake. It should be fine. The eggs are going to sort of spread out a little bit. Just kind of like take your spatula and scooch them towards the center. And it should make a nice, decent looking sort of, not a pancake-esque. It's going to be a little bit more like an omelet in that situation, but it's still going to be absolutely delicious, and it will go very, very well with our sauce. So let's get this mixed up here. And so it really just is like peanut butter and eggs and chicken, just like it says in the recipe. You can kind of see that's what it looks like. But I guarantee you, once we put that thing in the waffle iron, you're never going to recognize it. You're going to be so happy that I showed you this secret magic. All right, so let's get our measure over here. I'm going to need this for the sauce, so I'm not going to use it yet, but we're going to need... That's fun. Hey, you know, sometimes you just mix too hard. Let's make sure we don't do that with this one. Luckily that was a clean break. That's nice. If I was working in like a professional kitchen right now, I would throw this entire thing out. It would be very sad. But that would be the way of things. I saw absolutely nothing going in, so we're good. But the boss would have been like, no, we're not doing that. Okay, don't break another one.
Well, at least it's not in the waffles.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's see. So we'll take a decent amount out. We can always put some back in later. Just want to make sure I have enough for at least one. Okay, great. So let's get some cilantro in there. So I've got a whole bunch here. Probably won't need all this. It's about a quarter cup, which tends to be about a half a bunch. And we're going to kind of double it. So I don't think I want all of it. Let's see what this looks like when we're done. And I usually cut off just a little bit of the stems from the cilantro. The stems are actually really tender and taste really, really good. So I usually will put them right in there. Especially if you're making like a taco or anything like that. The stems are actually really good texture. So it's worthwhile to just keep them in your chop when you are chopping up your cilantro. So I'm just trying to bunch this up as much as possible. That makes it so I'm chopping something that's kind of like whole and solid. Chopping herbs is kind of like a battle between bruising and cutting them. And the more sort of mass they have, the more they can work as like a unified group of fiber, the less they're going to bruise. So usually you want to kind of like push it all together into a nice little pile and then try and chop it. And that works okay. A lot of people will just kind of like chop over the entire board, and you can definitely do that too, especially if you're using them right away, because the bruise won't really be so problematic. But if you can, it's usually best to try and not bruise your herbs, so they'll last longer. If I was cutting this for like, again, for working in a kitchen, I'd want to keep this on my line all night. I wouldn't want to have brown cilantro by the end of the night. So that is about like a little bit more than a quarter cup. So I'm actually just going to, maybe I will just do this whole thing. Sweet. Let's go. So again, you just kind of want to tuck it in under your nice little bundle. And if your first chop is really nice and bundled up, the rest is a lot easier to sort of get through and get it nice and fine. Does anybody have any questions so far? It doesn't have to be about waffles either. Anything that's been burning your food mind since last session? Any suggestions for this winter? I've got one idea that I've been throwing around in my head, but I'm always open to to doing other things if people have things they want to know or want to learn.
Chicken corn chowder.
Chicken chowder, all right, soups. I can get behind that. Okay, so we got all this lovely cilantro in there. Don't tell my chef I just scraped my board with my knife. It's not. This is not a super sharp knife. One thing you'd never want to do with a knife, and you probably won't see me do, is sort of scrape it along like this. You'll oftentimes see me scoop, but if you scrape like that, you're just dulling your knife. You're making your life hard for yourself. But I do still do it because, I don't know, just I have bad habits, I guess. So just going to do a quick rinse off on this so it's ready to go, and we're cutting up some waffles on this later. Okay, let's get these waffle irons heating up. We are about to start making waffles. Okay, beautiful. I even had a whisk here and then I didn't use it. Oh well. Not really a whisk waffle. Usually whisk is really good for waffles, but this one is a bit thick, so. Okay, let's get this cilantro in there. Please let me know if the TV goes off too. I know it did that a while back, but I'm hoping it doesn't do it ever again. I think we got it fixed. So these are going to start to look a little bit more savory now that the cilantro is in there. Almost looks kind of like a chicken salad or something. And it's starting to thicken up as well. The eggs are a little bit less runny, and part of that is because the baking powder is starting to sort of do its work and start to fill those eggs with air, which are making them a little bit more sort of emulsified here. Okay, beautiful. So that is our batter, quote unquote, that we're going to be putting in our waffle irons. And those are going to make a whole bunch of delicious waffles for us. So while we wait for these to get heated, and I'm going to start cooking as we sort of make this sauce, but I'm going to get started on the sauce here. So the sauce is pretty simple. Again, like I said, this is a sauce that's been around for I feel like a long time. It can be made with basically anything you've got around. The general sort of vibe you want from this sauce is you want it to be sweet, you want it to be sour, you want it to be a little bit spicy and a little bit salty. So all the flavors basically. That's kind of a classic Thai experience. Is you take all the flavors and you want to meld them together into one thing. So you want sweet, you want salty, you want well, not spicy is not one of the flavors, but you want bitter and you want sour. We're going to kind of skip the bitter. There'll be a little bit because I'm going to put a little bit of lime zest in there, but it's not going to be a lot. This one kind of avoids the bitter in favor of just being absolutely delicious. Bitter is usually not one of the flavors that a lot of us sort of look at and go, oh, that's my favorite thing in the entire world. There are people that really like bitter. There's bitter melon is like a really popular vegetable that is insanely bitter, and people still love it. Like they absolutely go bonkers for it. I can't get behind that personally. I don't mind bitter melon. It's really, really good for you. Like usually bitter things have incredibly large amounts of nutritional facts. What can I do to help you with?
What are you doing right now?
Oh yeah, so I have a lime. These are off. They're not. I mean, limes are in.
What are you doing with your hand?
Yeah. Limes are in season, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to squeeze the juice out. So before you cut the lime, once the lime's cut, all you've got is your manpower or woman power or person power to squeeze it out. So what I'm doing is I'm pre-breaking the little pistules, I think is what they're called, that are in there. And so what you do is you just kind of like, you can also microwave it, I guess. People have microwaved these before and it does a similar thing. But what I'm doing is I'm basically just taking it and I'm putting pressure on it. You can kind of feel the flesh underneath start to break up. What that's going to do is later when I cut this up, it's going to be really, really easy to juice. It's kind of pre-juiced basically. And so I'm doing that just so I can get as much juice out of this as possible. Like I said, I'm going to put a little bit of zest in here. So I'm going to use my microplane, and I think I've showed you guys this before. A lot of people will microplane like this, and that's very useful if you're like garnishing something. But if you're using it for a recipe, it's actually easier to pull towards you. So you want to take the lime and you want to pull your microplane towards you. And what it'll do, the microplane will collect your zest for you, which is incredibly useful if you're trying to put it in a recipe, because otherwise it just gets all over the counter. You can also see what you're working on, whereas like this, you can't see the part you're working on, so I would have gotten that yellow bit that I didn't really want. So this is very, very useful for zesting basically anything, or even microplaning things. If you need like a particular amount, you can see how much I have right there, which is very nice. I like it a lot for citrus though. It's really good. You could still use the other method, especially if you're doing like, You know, classically, like nutmeg would be something I'd microplane like that, because usually I'm putting nutmeg like over a drink or something like that. So again, lime zest isn't on the recipe, but I just feel like whenever I have fresh limes, I like to just put a little zest in there as well. When I did this originally, I did use just jarred lime juice, and it was delicious. But I happened to have some limes on sale, so I got lime pressed today. So the first thing I want to do with the sauce is I want to get the vinegar and the lime juice, basically all the acid working with the vegetables and starting to break them down. We're basically cooking them in acid so that they're not so harsh when it comes time to actually eat this sauce.
I do that with all my citrus. You know, if I'm making orange juice or lemonade or something, I just automatically do that every time.
Oh, you rub it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good. We're gonna see. You know, you never really know with limes. I have yet to find like a foolproof method to make sure I get a juicy lime. But I often find that like the thinner skin ones tend to be pretty good, and the nice firm ones. Generally with citrus, you want to weigh it. That's what I always heard, is you want to sort of hold it next to its brethren, and the heaviest one is probably going to be the one that's going to be the tastiest. It's going to have the most juice in it, basically, and that kind of is a good indicator that it's also going to be really tasty. But it's hard with limes; they're so small. So sometimes you just get like a dry lime, and it's like the saddest thing. But I think we're going to do pretty good here. I'm not very good at using one of these juicers. I actually have an electric one at home. I push down and it just goes by itself. And I'm over here like, why aren't you moving? Maybe I just need to move it myself. Here we go. Watch this.
Do you find that the electric juicer gets more juice?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I can apply more pressure. I can just do all my pressure downwards. I don't have to worry about like trying to twist or anything like that. And it definitely works a lot better. But I'm just happy I had anything. I was going to do this by hand until I found this thing in the drawer. And I was like, woo! Make my life easy.
Those, I don't know if they make them anymore. They're sort of stand up, and you put the...
Oh, yeah.
And you go like this. Are those good?
Yeah, they have those at the fair for the lemonade stand, I think. Yeah, those things are great. I used to have one of those at my old kitchen job, actually, for juicing insane amounts of citrus for the bar.
So are those good, almost as good as the electric ones?
I would say, like, honestly, best citrus juicer you can get are one of those little handheld ones that sort of flips over. And one thing that a lot of people do, I see, is they put the lime in like this and flip it over, and you want to flip it the other way, actually. A lot of people do that because it's like got the way it's shaped, it looks like it's going to go in there, but because, you know, it's like you're doing this, and it's like, okay, that makes sense. This is going to push down on it. But yeah, once I saw a bartender use it, I was like, oh, that makes more sense. And yeah, you want to put it this way because then it just like absolutely obliterates the inside and everything gets out. So that's one of my favorites, honestly, to use. That's what I have at home too. But the electric we usually use when we're doing like big citrus parties or, you know, lemonade or something like that.
How much does an electric squeezer cost, and does it do lemons, limes, and oranges?
Yeah, so the one I have is not actually a squeezer. It's just one of these, but the middle part like rotates. So you can just press down and it like rotates and helps like the word is ream, I believe, out the fruit.
But about how much does it cost?
I don't know. Ours is old. It's just been kind of in the family, I guess, as it were. So there's a pretty good amount of lime juice there. Let's go ahead and measure it, I guess. It's probably going to be about a quarter cup. Yeah, perfect. Great. I don't even remember what's on here. It says 2 tablespoons of lime juice. So that's a little extra, but that's okay. Because we're using fresh lime juice, that's going to be a lot sweeter, a lot less acidic than what we would be using. So with the maple syrup, it's going to be perfect. We're going to go in here. These are probably warm. Let's get a couple started. Ooh, yeah. This one.
Why is it smoking like that?
So this one is just very hot. It's always pretty much always on high, and I've been trying to figure out. There's a little dial on it, and it says light, and I can't tell if I'm supposed to turn towards light, or if the numbers that are closer to light are lighter. So I've been kind of practicing. I got into the middle right now. We'll see how that goes. So these are my sort of waffle presses. This is the one that Nis gave me that I've been very, very happy to have. It's very old, seasoned cast iron. Doesn't look like it, but it's as non-stick as this one is for sure. That's what we were doing. We were going to wait until... Here, I've got another... I'll use a third cup. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and get these in here. So again, half a cup is what you're going to want for a good waffle. So this is a third cup, so we're just going to do half a cup plus a little bit. And it's not going to be like a normal waffle batter. You're going to kind of have to spread it out and then rely on the waffle press to kind of push it down. You're almost kind of making like a panini. And then we just pray, you know. This recipe is still, to this day, I've done this now 3 times. And every time I do it, I'm like, it's not going to work. There's nothing, and there's no flour in there. There's no way it's going to work. But it does. It works every single time. Okay, cool. So we've got the lime juice. We've got the what's it called? Green onions. Let's go ahead and actually get a little bit of our chili flake in there too, so that can start to get acidified. So you can use basically any chili you want. Classically, I believe it's a hatch chili. No, that's Mexican. It's a bird's eye chili. Or you could also use a Thai hot pepper. We're using this. This is a Korean chili flake. Very, very, very tasty. A little sweet, and absolutely. Is anybody really, really against spice? Like really against spice? I know you can handle this, Mom. I know your level. Anybody else who's like, I can't take any spice? Okay. Yeah? Okay, cool. I got you. I won't put any more in there. What I'll do, the lid's on the side. You can sort of sprinkle it over the top if you want to. It's really, really good. This is the chili pepper that we used back in our kimchi program. If you guys remember that flavor. It's got a very particular flavor, and it's also bright red, which I love because as like a garnish, it really, really works. It makes the sauce really, really tasty looking. You kind of want chilies floating on the top.
What's the name of that chili?
This is what's the actual Taekyung red pepper powder, but I think it's got a different name. It just says red pepper. Korean chili flake maybe would be like potentially what you'd use to find. This brand though is very good. I think you can even get it just off Amazon. It's massive, but like I'll go through this in a month. I put it on everything. If I have an open bag, it just goes literally on everything.
You can't get it on the island.
I don't think so. But particularly the way you want to, what you're looking for is the way that the flakes are. There's no seeds in this. It's just the red. It's just the flesh that's been dried. So it's almost more like a paprika in that sense. And it's just really, really good. It's very sweet. There's no bitterness. It's not super spicy because those seeds aren't in there. Okay, back to the sauce. So let's get this vinegar in there. So this is rice wine vinegar. This one's unseasoned because we're going to put a bunch of maple syrup in here. You could use seasoned if you wanted to. Seasoned basically just already has salt and sugar in it. But, as per usual, I generally avoid as much salt as possible. And so I'm using unseasoned, and we're going to put the sugar in there with the maple syrup. So it's going to be a 1/4 cup, which I have right here. And again, we want to start with the acids first, just so they have some time to work. Maybe that's what I need the whisk for. Now we're talking. So a really good way to tell when waffles are done is when the steam stops. This one has a light on it too. The steam's still going pretty good. I'm just going to take a little peek because I want to. Oh yeah, it worked. Okay, cool. So rice wine vinegar is in there. Rice vinegar. It is just it's basically, it's very sweet. If you've never had this before, it's amazing. It's another great secret with ginger, garlic, and scallion to just making good Asian food. It's that flavor that you're like, man, why does that taste like something I've had before? And it's probably this that was in that sauce. It's just a really, really nice piece. So that's what I need. You could use white vinegar. Yeah, the white vinegar is what I actually used when I was testing this out, and it's totally fine. Rice wine is just going to make it a little bit sweeter. The palate's going to be a little different. It's going to taste more like what you might remember from, if you've ever had like a spring roll sauce or something like that. That was probably rice vinegar. So I'm just going to use 1 clove of garlic, despite everything in my body telling me I should use more, because we are going to be eating this raw, and I want you guys to be able to, talk to each other and friends without offending anyone. Not like, if anybody who's offended by garlic, you probably shouldn't be your friend anyways. But I'm just going to use the one just to keep it sort of clean for everybody. And I'm going to use I knew I was forgetting. So we got our acid in there. Now we're going to get our sort of veggies in there to start cooking that acid. So I'm going to use the microplane again. And this isn't really big enough to like run on that way, so I'm going to use it this way. I'm going to set it right down in the bowl and just go to town. And garlic microplanes a lot faster than some of the harder spices, and especially faster than citrus skin. So we've got our garlic in there. That's going to go in there. We're going to get some ginger as well. I put the ginger in the freezer. This is my best ginger hack in the entire world. Keep your ginger in the freezer all the time. Never take it out. When you do take it out, you don't need to chop it. You don't need to peel it. You don't need to do anything to it. Take your microplane and your frozen ginger and just go to town. It is going to make this beautiful little ginger snow. This one's not super frozen, so it didn't do the whole thing, but it's going to make really, really beautiful ginger snow. It's going to be perfectly small. These are done. Okay, so let me give that one just a little bit more time. So just kind of a preview of what we're going to be getting into here in a bit. They're nice and green. You can see the greens in there. This one I actually think is just completely done. I'll take that out and put some more in there. Oh, they smell so good. You can smell the peanut butter if you're in the front row, I imagine. It is just such a treat. So that one was a little short. You can see there's one of the boxes missing. So I'm just going to try and put a little bit more in this one to make sure it is nice and full. Yeah, you just want to cook a little more. So actually, I think this needs to get turned up. Let's see. We'll go to darker. See if that works. So yeah, so frozen ginger, it makes this really, really beautiful ginger snow, which is kind of fun if you're like garnishing as well. But it just makes your life easy. Once you're done with this, you can just put it right back in the freezer like that. It's going to freeze off that side. It's not going to oxidize. Nothing's going to go wrong with it. It'll last forever. You'll always have ginger on hand, because that's anytime I want to cook with ginger, I'm always like, oh crap, I forgot to buy it at the grocery store. Oh, my ginger piece is like dried and shriveled in the fridge and doesn't work anymore. But if you keep it in the freezer, you'll always have ginger on hand.
Do you have to package it at all? Or just
No, it's literally I just put it in the freezer like this. You don't have to do anything. You know, if your like freezer has problems and doesn't keep temperature well, you might want to package it just so it doesn't get too dry, because that compressor is going to be running a lot and is going to be taking moisture out and such. A couple little brown pieces got in here. Don't want that. But when it's properly frozen too, you won't have problems like that. I just had a couple pieces of skin go in there.
What's the ideal freezer temperature for food?
It depends on your fridge. I mean, like -1, basically, centigrade, or 31 degrees Celsius. If you can maintain that, that's perfect. You don't want to be like too hard on the frozen side of things.
0.
Beautiful. Get the rest of that ginger off. Okay, cool. So now we've got all of our sort of veggie matter in here. We can let that just kind of hang out and cook for a little bit. And it just looks very nice and thick. And that's what we want. We want like little thick bits in there. Those are kind of float to the top. When we dip our waffles in there, they're going to kind of stick. It's going to be really, really nice. And it's going to make these sort of go through the roof as far as flavor. Oh my god, every time I take one off, it just smells like a peanut butter and jelly. Like the best peanut butter and jelly ever. Maybe go a little wider on this one. If you guys didn't see on your way in, it's Elise's birthday today, by the way. Yeah. So everybody please do wish her a happy birthday. If you know her, if you don't, you can still, yeah, there we go. All the kids must have just gotten here. You can go even take a picture with her if you want to. We got a little photo booth set up, so just in case you know her. If you don't, I highly suggest just going to say hi. She's the one that's got the sash on right now. She's just, it's really fun, and it's cool that she has made it to such a monumental occasion in her life, you know?
How old is she?
I don't think I'm allowed to say, but there is a bunch of signs everywhere. So, my waffle maker loves to pop. I don't know if you guys had heard that earlier, but especially if I put a little too much in there, it'll start to rise, and this thing will pop. This waffle maker particularly really wants that pressure. It's kind of more like a panini press, so if it ever pops, I just want to put it back down. Otherwise, our waffles will kind of rise too much. We want that downward pressure to cook the other side. So, all right. So this sauce is cooked enough, I'd say. So we're just going to keep going. We've got our vinegars in there, so we're going to now get to our savory part of this. The thing that's really going to bring the flavor together. So we want maple syrup, and this is going to kind of make it feel like we're eating waffles again, you know, having that beautiful thing. So classically in this recipe, there would be, put a little more in there, why not? There would be sugar. It would just be white sugar. I guess I did have enough to put some in the recipe. That's nice. Well, let's put a little in there. I'll save a little just in case I need to change the sauce at all. It would cost to be white sugar, and you'd cook it. You'd almost cook it like you're making a gastrique or like a sweet and sour sauce. So you take the sugar, you put it in a pan, you cook it down a little bit, and get it just a tiny bit like melted and caramelized, and then you put all your sauce ingredients in there and let it cool down. We're not going to cook this though. You can cook this if you want to. It's not going to change anything. We're letting the sort of vinegar do its job to sort of cook the sauce, but you could definitely cook it if you wanted to, just to sort of speed things along. And then we're going to put a little bit of, I just put that away, whatever, we're just going to use this. So this is fish sauce, a tablespoon, that's right. Fish sauce, oh, it smells so good, oh my god. Fish sauce is a very unique flavoring ingredient. It is made with a whole bunch of salt and fermented fish. It is so unique and so delicious. I am in love with it. A lot of people, some people don't like it. There's only going to be a little bit in this, so you're not really going to taste it completely. It's going to be that flavor in the background that you're like, where do I know that from? Why does that taste so good? It's usually probably from some Thai food you had. And so we're just going to do about a tablespoon in there. Just a little bit. That's going to be our salt for this dish. It's incredibly salty, so you don't really need a lot.
Can you use oyster sauce in places of
So oyster sauce is more of like a barbecue sauce. It's kind of more sweet and thick. And it has a very different sort of flavor profile. This is something, not really anything tastes like fish sauce. You're not gonna, it's basically rotten fish, right? It's a kind of, to put it another, there is no other way to put it really. It's fermented fish. And so there's not much that's gonna really be able to replace that as far as a flavor profile. But yeah, I mean, it's not gonna hurt. You could just skip it. What I would do is just put a little bit of soy sauce in there if you don't have fish sauce. I think that would be fine. You'd have a fairly similar looking.
Always have soy.
So the recipe calls for water if you think that this is too thick. I think it feels pretty good. It feels pretty thin to me, which is nice because we did put that extra lime juice in there. So you want it to kind of like, hopefully you guys can kind of see when it's hard to describe, but when you stir certain liquids, they kind of feel thicker. You know, they've got a little bit more tension against your spoon. They tend to move in a different way. They'll stop a lot faster. That's what we're going for. We don't want this to be as thin as water. We want it to be easy to pour and easy to dip in, but we do want it to be kind of thick and feel nice. This looks pretty good. I think I'm just gonna taste it and make sure that our flavor is good. And this gets better over time. I just blew on it. I don't know why. Like it's hot or something. Oh, that's so good. Okay, so the lime juice is definitely coming through. Wow, that's really tasty. I'm gonna put the rest of the maple syrup in there. When things are really acidic, you want to balance them with sugar. When things are really bitter, you want to balance them with salt. Those are kind of the flavor profiles that go together. Very bitter things are sort of counteracted by salt directly. The salt actually blocks the bitter receptors on your tongue, so you can't taste it as much. So if you like burn something, just put extra salt in there. You won't be able to taste it as much. And then it's similar with salt and sugar, or sugar and sour. If something's very sour, you can put some extra sugar in there, and it tends to cut that sour flavor. Or if something's very, very sweet, using an acid to cut it can be very, very good for balancing your palate on that.
How long does the sauce last?
Like in the fridge, you mean? And it should likely disappear before it goes bad. But I mean, I would say until it molds, basically, because it's all like it's vinegar and fish sauce, which are both already shelf stable. The only thing we put in there was the green onions and the ginger and garlic. And both of those, all of those are all now getting pickled. So realistically, it's going to survive until it goes bad, and it'll be very obvious. Like it's going to probably mold or dry out. But yeah, it'll last for a month at least, and probably more. I would never be sad to eat this after it's been made. Like it's gonna be good until it molds probably. All right, let's see. This guy's looking good. Nice. Okay, cool. So I think we're getting to a point here where I'm going to start cutting some up. And we're going to start trying them as I cook. One thing once this next one comes off. That one's good. Okay, sweet. All right, so I'm just going to double check the sauce. I think it might want a little bit more fish sauce, but I don't want to overwhelm you guys, so I might just skip that. It's my own sort of favorites coming through. Somebody's saying him? Oh, hi, yeah.
I gotta go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got you right now. I'll make you one right now. Come on up. Oh, yeah, okay, there we go. We're perfect. Oh, that's so good. So, yeah, I would put a little bit more fish sauce in there personally.
Well, not for me.
But, yeah, but we're going to skip that for now.
Great. What do we do?
Okay, that's for you. And then do you want a little bit of sauce on there?
A little what?
A little sauce?
Absolutely. Can you do it? I wouldn't know where to start. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Yeah, of course.
I'll see you next week.
All right.
Bye.
Hey, Leo, how are you? All right. I'm going to get you a plate to go in right now. So I'm going to let you guys do the sauce yourselves. There's a little tablespoon in there. Just put as much as you want on there. You really can't go overboard. And as per usual, we'll start at the back and we'll kind of move forward. There you go, Leo. So anybody who's at the back, feel free to come on in.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, of course. Get back here. Come on.
Just want one piece.
Yeah, of course. Here. There you go.
Christopher, she knew Dad really well.
Who did?
My dad.
These look great.
Smell is unbelievable.
I know the peanut butter is like. I probably should try. I should have tried one. Here, let me put the things back. Before I just give it to you guys. Oh, it tastes horrible. It's still pretty good. The chunky peanut butter is definitely better. But that's still pretty tasty. Here, let me get you a fresh one, my friend. There you go, perfect.
Here.
All right, Skip. Next one going in is going to be the cilantro free.
Okay, good.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
You do say so yourself?
So I will say, I just had a try. I think they were better the first time I made them. They're not, like, by all means, they're still good. I think people who have them maybe will hopefully agree with me on that. But I think the chunky peanut butter really, I'm gonna go back on what I said earlier. I think you should stick with chunky. Don't use smooth. It adds a really important texture, but more importantly, it adds like space to the dish. With the smooth, it almost is too pasty. Like the mouthfeel is not as the same. So you can obviously make it like it made a waffle, but like on a culinary level, I think the chunky is the only way to go. I will take back my statement from earlier. It's still tasty. Like you're gonna find out, it's still pretty good. But it was insane when I did it with the chunky peanut butter. It was like my mind was like blowing up with like how weird it felt to sort of eat it. So I think that's just a matter of texture. What's in the different peanut butters, you know. The smooth one's just more processed, so it makes a different experience. Yeah. Okay, I got one up here. Somebody wants it, and I got more coming out in just a moment. I'm gonna start doing cleanup. Yeah.
So this recipe, as we have it, makes how many?
It should make 6. Yep. 6 like for 6 double waffles or quadruple. 6 full waffles. So, excuse me. And I would say like realistically, like one of these is enough for a meal. I'll eat more personally because I really like them. But I think like one of these is like perfect for a meal.
Cilantro or you don't want cilantro? I want cilantro. That's cilantro. I think cilantro.
That's the cilantro one. Yep. Perfect.
I don't know why I did that. I'm putting a spoon on something else. I'm sorry. That's just me.
That's okay. My friend.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah.
The sauce is my favorite part of this dish. If you take nothing else from this, take that sauce away with you. It's so good.
Ginger too. The ginger's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that sauce. Yeah, I would use that sauce for everything.
Got that? Nice. Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, if you gave this to me, I wouldn't necessarily know it was chicken. I'd definitely like figure it out eventually, but
I
hi.
was the person that said I was coming late.
Well, you're here. It's okay. We're just finishing up some of the last ones right here. So if you want to wait around, we'll have a waffle for you in no time. And Kathleen, if you want, I can get you another piece too once this one's done. But, okay, cool.
What's the sauce?
The sauce is like a it's sort of like yeah, it's on here. Yeah, if you check one of the seats, you'll find. But it's a kind of like a nam prick, which is like a sweet and savory sauce. It's very sort of Thai. It's lime juice and ginger and scallions and garlic, fish sauce, and classically it would be white sugar, but we use maple syrup because we're doing waffles.
Is that one is cilantro free?
Yes, this one is. Yep, this one will be yours, Skip.
Yeah, I'll just.
Yeah, I got probably it's maybe 2 minutes or so. Not even. Guys, that was a pretty quick one. That was pretty much it. We did it. So one of the best parts about this recipe, obviously, is you can come home and cook it in almost no time at all. We did the whole thing there in about an hour. And that was a double batch, so it's going to take a lot less time, if you're cooking for yourself. Hi, yeah.
So I don't really taste the chicken in this recipe.
Yeah.
What happens if you use like shredded pork? Do you taste it more?
I think depending on the type of meat you use, like pork definitely has like a sort of like fatty undercurrent that I think would definitely come through more. Especially if you use like a local pork or like a grass-fed beef, something that has more game to it. Chicken, especially canned chicken, tends to be pretty flat, and so it's easy to get overwhelmed, especially by the peanut butter. Yeah, I think if you use the more intense meat, I think it would definitely come through. Like especially if you use like a smoked meat or something like that. Like if you there's nothing saying you couldn't go get some like smoked barbecue pork and use that instead and make like a barbecue chicken waffle, or barbecue pork waffle. Like that'd be great, honestly. And I think it would go fine with this sauce too. Maybe put a little like gochujang in here or something, make it kind of like a spicy, more barbecue flavored sauce. But yeah, the chicken is almost on purpose. You don't want to taste it. Let the peanut butter really shine. And again, that crunchy is definitely just like a whole different experience. I think the crunchy is way more intense, way more flavorful. Definitely the move. So if nothing else from the sauce, go home and if you haven't gotten yourself a waffle iron yet in your life, I highly suggest it. I didn't get a chance to buy one, but there is a really cool like little single person waffle maker. It's like $10. It's what everybody who was making the chaffles was using these little single person waffle makers. They're really great for if you're doing overnight waffles, like I was talking about, because you can just get up in the morning, put your quarter cup in there, Those ones are quarter cups, not half cups, and just like have breakfast done for you, you know. So big fan of those. They're super cheap, and it's just so much fun to have a waffle around. All right, has anybody? Skip, I know yours is still cooking. Oh yeah, you are ready. Come on up here. Let's get you some waffle.
I definitely want the. So is this?
That's true. That's for you. Yep.
Okay, and I'll put a little.
And I share that. So.
Oh yeah, here. Yeah, make sure you get another one. Yeah, of course. The rest will go to the old staff.
Great.
I like the sauce.
The sauce is so good. I love that sauce so much.
On some spring rolls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're welcome, Celio.
So, I would make the sauce.
Yeah, the sauce gets better the longer too it sits. Like it gets way better. It's better the day after, better the week after. Always better. Yeah, of course. Yeah, dude, tuna. It's gonna be so good. Tuna melt version would be great. Take some chicken with you if you want. Guys, make sure you take some chicken with you if you want to. There's at least one can for everybody, potentially more. So if you're later, you can take more if you so desire. If you don't take it home, I'm just gonna make it into waffles later. So. Yeah, they just came off, so they're rocking. All right, Skip, this one's gonna be you. Oh yeah, don't worry, I've got 2 waffles that'll be for them. All right, Skip, come on down.
Thank you.
Of course.
I'm glad you knew about this cilantro business.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Chris. It was
Yeah.
really fabulous.
Of
I'm going
course.
to try it with shredded pork.
Yeah, I think it'd be great, honestly. I think like I'm really actually kind of like sold on doing like barbecue pork now. Like
I bet that would be really good.
yeah, I would like up this amount of scallions, maybe take the cilantro out and like really go hard into like if you have like caramelized onions, like chop them up in there and put it in there or something like that. I'm just thinking of different things you could do.
Or even pickled onions.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. That'd be great.
Kimchi, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Cabbage,
Yep.
whatever.
I think that would be a kind of a fun way to mess with it. And basically, just kind of one for one. You know, take out the shredded chicken, put in pork. You know, use the peanut butter if you want to, but you
I would
could.
use the chunky peanut butter
Yeah,
for sure. 'Cause
chunky.
I think the chunky would give it, as you said, crunch.
Yeah, and then for the green onions and the cilantro, just kind of literally any seasoning you want is going to go in there. It's going to be fine. These are pretty resilient, you know,
And
because.
ginger.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, ginger is always
Yeah,
a good one.
this is a great sauce.
That is one of my favorite sauces of all time. That and like a sesame.
And how often do
Sesame
you cook
sauce.
here? Is it once a month?
Once a month, yep. So we're doing this again. I think the 18th
April?
of April. And yeah, so the newsletter is coming out. I think in like 3 days. So you'll find out what we're doing next month. So, but please do make sure to come around and
Give you ideas?
yeah, give me ideas. But mainly just come and eat. That's the best part.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm happy you like them. Get in there. All right. Thank you guys for coming, by the way, and I hope to see you around next month or in the future, the summer, next winter. We're going to keep doing this forever. So next one is, I think, the 18th of April.
What are the hints about what it is?
Yeah, so next month we are going to be going on a journey. Journey through the sort of Eastern Europe, and we'll be dealing with some food that has the same name as our favorite dipping sauce for fried fish. I think that's probably what I got. That's the best one I can think of, and it'll be good for your heart.
I'd like to learn how to use Indian spices.